All right, the talk show is back on and live. Let's put on my webcam over here. And there you are. I see you, Larry.
Hello.
How you doing? I know you
Welcome.
can't see me, but the people on the stream can see me. You'll probably see where that is, right over there. I'm like a little bit of a ghost in the corner of you right now, even though it's showing up on Teams in a special way. We're meeting on Teams. Oh, jeez. Once again,
Back to Teams. See,
back
it's
to
great.
Teams.
I love it.
Right. Let me make sure that your sound is coming through. Yes. Let's make sure desktop audio. Where's your desktop? Come on. Where is it? Hey, Larry, say something. I want to hear your sound.
I can. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you can't hear me. You can't hear sound if I don't say anything.
That's true.
I understand. It's
Uh,
all right. It's all
I'm
good.
just
So,
making sure. I'm going to go to my stream and see what it sounded like. One standby.
okay. Oh, my sound is not great.
All right. I just went over, and of course it's on a delay, and went to check it. And yes, I can hear your sound. You're a little soft, but that's okay.
I'm a little soft.
You can
I
make
can check.
yourself a little bit louder. At some point, I can probably make that louder too. Just a little bit of desktop audio and fix that. All right.
I will work on getting a better mic. That might help too.
Yeah, that might. Let's take a look. You are the source, and here's the show. And all right, that's fine. We'll work on our mics at some other nice little juncture over here. In the meantime, Larry, how you been doing?
I've been great. I'm enjoying life. We've gotten to go out. You know, in New York, we're getting to go out and eat lunch and do things. My family and I, and it's wonderful to be able to leave the house. I'll just say,
Oh,
you know.
that's true.
But speaking of teams, you know, this is a cloud talk show, right?
It
One of the
is.
things that's neat that I just found out this week is all of the APIs that are underlying teams are actually available for you to integrate into your own application. Did you know there's an Azure um, kind of new offering that has the ability to use these Teams streams, if you will, in your own application?
So the communication framework thing. Yes.
Yes, I haven't played with that yet. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
Have you
now that's going to be fun. Is
done
that
that?
Have you seen, of course, like the Ignite show? Well, Ignite and Build and all the rest. You see, like how like they do that kind of presentation that they have over there. That is them using the technology in place.
Nice.
All that stuff that goes in there, the chatting, the likes, and all that stuff, all those pieces, they're using that tech.
Very
Ah,
cool.
there you go. Yep, that's what's out there. What other stuff is going on? I saw something today about Lighthouse, Azure Lighthouse. Azure Lighthouse, something to do with PIM. Good old PIM.
Oh, okay.
You remember
No, I
PIM?
don't.
So
Yes, I
let's
remember
let's
Pip.
look that up. Let's do a share. Why don't you share your screen? Open up a desktop browser and let's take a look at this.
All right. Let me drop over to a desktop and get a browser up, and
Yep.
I'll share.
Yes.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
I flipped to a desktop, but I left the meeting on the other desktop. So I've got to move it over to desktop number two
All
because
right.
I've got
Go
a lot
ahead.
of junk
While you're doing
running.
that, I'm going to see why it's not letting me select the headphones. Interesting.
Azure Lighthouse.
Ah,
There we go.
here we go. Let me make this big on my screen. Ah, Azure Lighthouse.
So
There he is.
task view down here. If you don't know about this guy down below, the bottom left task view. That's
Yes.
amazing. I've got junk running. Oh well, never mind. I've got a lot of junk over there.
Yes, so I do that. I've been doing that for a while. That's one of my favorite tips. Make your own desktops all over the place, and then you can have certain things in certain areas. However, it does get confusing if you're looking at mail and Teams, because sometimes it flips back and forth between the windows. And you're like, hey, what happened to it? It disappeared, and you forget that there's other desktops. All right, stay in control of your Azure environment. This one is gain full transparency into the service provider's actions and manage. Oh, so here's the concept, right? This happens to us a lot. We're going to go in somewhere, and we got to help out the client and do stuff. And sometimes they have to give us massive access, or sometimes they just reluctant to give us any access. And then we have to work through other intermediaries, as they say, just to get stuff done. All right, it's like
And getting the right amount is always a kind of a hit or miss thing.
yes.
I mean, so I can without naming names. I recently was working on a client here in New York, and I needed to do an assessment of what they had in Azure, and so they granted me access to Azure, to
Yep.
their Azure account, and there was a problem with me getting access from my machine, so I had to get a laptop from them,
Mm-hmm.
which is always interesting and fun.
Right.
But then I couldn't do it through the VPN, so I actually had to go physically to one of their locations
Oh my
to
gosh.
sign on to their network.
Oh dear.
Which good security, it's good stuff.
I mean, yeah, of course.
But then once I got there, I got to see everything, and I was only supposed to see one resource group, but I saw everything because they didn't have the group set up quite right. So it's hard. It is a hard problem.
So it is a hard problem. It's a case of like the right access at the right time. The problem is it's just so tedious. And here's the thing: it's not hard, right? It's not hard. It's just very tedious because a lot of the ways people set up, sometimes they go through a lot of complexity to set something up, and then they forget like, well, can you recreate that? Of course, you and I are big fans of infrastructure as code, where you just hit the button and get it done and stuff. And just as we say in our good old 12-factor stuff that we used to talk about, if you should be able to stand something up, you should be able to take it down and bring it up again, because that's the ultimate 12-factor nirvana. Bring it up, bring it down, bring it up, bring it down, on demand and all that stuff. Short of that, though, because that's, again, tedious just to set that up, and some people don't want to do it. And here's the concept over here with Lighthouse. You get the access that you need for only when you need it, and the amount, and that's what this is. So you have, like, your service providers, us, folks like us. We're going to come in. We're going to do stuff with your network. You're going to elevate. We have access to your network, but we have to explicitly request elevated privilege permissions. Just like remember when you're like clicking on something, it says, hey, you have to run this as an admin. And then you click run as admin, it runs, and then when it's done, your admin is gone.
Yeah,
That's this for the cloud.
And it's amazing because it's just in time, right?
Yes.
And it automatically. I mean, see, I'll say I'm no longer working on that project. If I still had that laptop and I went into one of their locations, I'm betting that I would still have access. I mean, I'm just saying, it's easy to give, but it's hard to get back. It's hard to remember that that's something you should do, because no one's going to come in and say, oh yeah, by the way, you forgot to take my access away, because I don't have the machine, but my account still has access, and that's something that you see in a year-end audit. But man, this Azure Lighthouse, like PIM,
Yep.
gives you just enough access and just for a window of time.
That's exactly the point.
But
Now,
you have to be using it to continue to need it, or you have to need it to continue to use it. There you go.
right. And so in the vein of like what we've always talked about in the past, and we're still doing that, it's like, well, if Azure's got this, does GCP have it? Does AWS have something like it? Are they not doing the same things, or are they doing something differently?
I do not know. That's a good question.
It's a good question.
I think that's a good topic for.
We're going to follow up. We should do like a top 10. These are the things on all sides that people have. If we ever find out something that somebody has that someone else does not have,
That's a niche. That's an opening.
That's an
where
opening.
Someone can add service.
we're going to create some arbitrage opportunities for someone out there. Please do not send us your royalties, because our companies will not like it. We have to at least maintain the illusion of how do we say it, being unbiased.
Right. And
Azure.
It's an interesting thing. I will say, the last time we spoke, Ralph, you and I both worked for the same company. That's
We did.
No longer true.
This is true. This is true.
And-
Oh yeah, so that's changed since last time.
changed.
Are you still doing architecture stuff at least?
I am. I am. So the last project that I was on was an assessment,
Uh-huh.
and next week I'm going to be doing a workshop. Building a backlog out, and after that, I don't know.
Aha. All right.
So
So that's pretty
lots
good.
of good sales work. Talking. What I like is talking to people and solving the problems. And so this really early, building a backlog is really defining the scope or boundaries of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is as fun or actually maybe even more fun than implementing the solution.
True.
I'm getting old. I don't want to do any work.
There's no
I
need
just
to
want to
do it.
talk about it.
Exactly. It's the planning that's the fun part, right? So,
Yes.
and interestingly, so in my new position, that is, I'm in with the cloud technologies folks. So all this cloud stuff we've been doing finally paid off. I actually have a job where I'm actually doing that. But here's a semi-ironic thing: is that my focus is now on the Microsoft side of things, on the Azure side of things, most specifically on the M365 SaaS, the big time SaaS Power Platform. That's suddenly become everything that I'm doing. All right.
Low code and no
The low
code.
code. It's like all the low code stuff. I think you remembered. We were pushing towards the low code stuff, and I know here on the Cloud Talk Show I have talked about some of that low code stuff that's going on. But here's the big thing: the low code stuff is not just here in the Microsoft world, but just across the board. All this low code stuff is becoming the way of doing things. That's right. So everything, even all this infrastructure as code stuff, if you can imagine, when you package that into an API, you could potentially low code even that. It's like,
Yes.
hey, if you think about it, the original low code is us doing script, batch files. Wasn't that the original
It
low
was.
code? Think
It
about it.
was. It was. I mean, come on. We've been doing this for a long time, right?
Yes.
It all goes around and comes around back. Paradox. Do you remember Paradox?
Paradox. Oh my gosh, yes, I do remember Paradox.
And Paradox was a low code,
It was.
draw and build, and all of the underlying data structures and things were set up for you. So, I mean, it's different. We're servicing different markets with the same concepts.
Yes.
And what's interesting for me and for you, I'm sure, is that we see the same sorts of problems, and because we've seen it before, we're able to anticipate.
Yes.
And that's what helps with being old and crunchy.
Yes. So Paradox, those systems, I remember even a long time ago, the next system having this drag and drop. I create a program by dragging and dropping this box connected to that box, and this program happens. That was the ultimate low code, and this is going back to like the 90s, even before that, and all that stuff. So if there was Paradox, and I remember DBase where they had like a little bit of like a drag and droppy sort of thing. Well, not
Right?
exactly drag and drop. It was
Well,
they had.
build forms though,
Yes, that's right.
without writing code.
Right. Or so here's a question: is it low code if you have like 5 lines of code to do something, and it doesn't matter what language, or if you have 100,000 lines of JSON script? What's low code? What do you consider? Is that considered low code? It's all JSON script. Hey, it's all settings. Open up any MS app package of a low code thing, and you'll see behind the scenes all that.
Export it, change it to a zip file, because that's what it is underneath.
Exactly.
And pop it open,
Yep.
and yes, you're right. But the difference is that you didn't write the code.
That's right.
It's
So
it's not that there's no code. It's that the person who is implementing the solution doesn't have to write the code.
right. It's so technically speaking, every time any user goes and clicks on a menu and something happens behind the system, that is a no code situation. Everything that's just where they don't have to go in and actually instruct an if then else. All right, and they just simply pick settings and blah happens. That's considered a
Well,
no code.
recording a macro,
Yes.
right? You've been able to record macros forever, and that's really low code. I mean, the thing that's interesting, and the reason that I know that you turn them to zip files and pop them open and dig inside is because
Yes.
there are things that you and I, in an enterprise, moving through different environments,
Yes.
really want to get down inside that and make some changes to before it goes to the different environments.
Aha, indeed.
So
Yep,
there's
that's true.
there's some things that are as not as fully baked, I think.
Yes.
And
Well,
that's why we need consultants.
so actually, so maybe that will be a topic that we will cover, because what I'd like to show you some of the stuff. Here's the thing. Again, when I started diving into this, and I said, well, yeah. So I came, technically speaking, even though I was there originally, and then came to the developer side, and I'm sort of going back in a slow way. But as I'm going back, I'm bringing all the goodies that we've learned, you and I, from the cloud and from development and everything else, all the same practices, CI/CD, all that DevOps and stuff. Exactly. But that stuff's coming back. So now all of a sudden, the Power Platform, for example, has all this ALM stuff, which is exactly the same stuff that we do. It runs through GitHub Actions, it runs through ADO, or anything that works on that can call an API and essentially instruct X and Y to happen under the covers. You can open it up with code now. You can actually go in and say mass change, say a label name across the board because you can. Would you want to do that? It's like, well, maybe you should have designed it properly in the first place. But hey, all those issues that we run into in regular code, and the reason why now it becomes easier for us to actually do low code is because we're bringing in that, let's just say, that experience over. I think that helps. So
the refactoring type.
exactly. For like a lot of folks that are like just doing this for themselves and everything else, if they're doing it for themselves and they're having and making it work, hey, more power to them. It's great. This is the whole point. More power to you. Make it happen. But at some point, as they say, folks are going to say, "Look, I got 100,000 people all over the world doing similar stuff. You're using up resources and licenses and everything else. Could we consolidate? Can we do something else?" Well, yes, you can, and potentially you can just set this up. And well, the only reason why this is all possible is because thanks to us being in, where are we now? The cloud.
The cloud. Yes.
The cloud.
And being able to, I mean, all of the adapters. I mean, it's one of the things that really BizTalk back in the day. One of the reasons that made it so powerful is all of the adapters that it had, all of the things that it could connect to. And because of the standardization, the industry-wide standardization on the different REST APIs and the different web APIs and OAuth and all of that, we're now able to bring that to a broader audience. We're able to hit more different sources. And, you know, a tool now that can receive email and react to it.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be written by a developer that's going into Exchange. Gosh, do you remember going and writing code that listened for events in Exchange?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, gosh, that was 3 months to get that piece working, and you never worked exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, that used to be hard. A lot of the stuff that we were doing now used to be hard. It wasn't just the infrastructure, because it was a challenge just to itself, just to make that stuff happen. And then what used to happen, and this is probably a lot of the, as I say, the business case for going to the cloud in a lot of cases, to make a lot of that happen, people took shortcuts and opened up way too many doors, way too many egresses and ingresses in and out. If they didn't pay attention, if they didn't go through that checklist, if they were like, well, just make them a global admin and be done with it. It's like, well, you know.
You're making my heart stop.
It's like, okay, you might as well just like say public membership and say, open it up.
Yeah, why don't let me just share the drive on the server and let everybody just put the files here. Whoa, hang on a minute. Please stop.
Of course, and then we find out with like a lot of the stuff that we've seen recently is that people are they're going to the cloud and making the mistakes up there. That's the part that gets me. The part that gets me is like, okay, we gave you all the tools, and how are you still making the mistakes? How are you still missing some of this stuff? And in some cases, I understand you're in a hurry, you're in a rush. This person knew it. They left before they finished their work and everything else. It's like, well, this is the whole point. If you're in the cloud, a lot of the things that you thought you needed to do, even the way you used to do disaster recovery, is just not the same. Some of those concepts just don't exist. Sometimes they're like, I want to be able to stand up this infrastructure exactly the same on another cloud. It's like, well, hold on a second. In the case of like, where are you doing this? In another region? No, no, in the same region. Well, if you're in the cloud and the region goes down, your DR is as a failure because you're going to go back into the same region. It's like going back into the fire that you just tried to escape from to be able to do whatever it is you're doing. You have to have your thing set up somewhere else. Oh, but that costs money. Well, then what did you? What was that all about?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Some things do. They just cost money, and it's okay
What?
if that's not something that you're willing to spend on. No problem.
It,
But understand that that's a choice that you're making because of fiscal reasons,
yes.
not because of technical reasons.
Exactly.
Don't say that. Don't say that we did not implement it correctly.
Yes.
Say that you weren't willing to pay.
Well, sign off on it. It's like, hey, we're just not going to pay for this. Okay, well, sign here. It's like, remember, like when they make you go into the rides. The ride's like, well, if you don't wear seatbelts, we're totally indemnified about whatever you do whenever you get in. We'll let you get in there. We'll let you not wear a mask, not wear a seatbelt, not wear pants. I don't know, whatever it is. But sign over here, or hey, you will be on camera and you will look stupid without your mask, pants, seatbelt at the same time. You know, I always think of it that way. It's like, well, do you wear pants? I said yes. Well, is it optional? And they'll say, no, it's not. No, actually, believe it or not, wearing pants is optional. How many places do you see a sign that say pants required?
That's right.
There are no. They're very few.
No shoes, no shirts, no shirts.
No, no, yeah, we
Right?
see those, right? But they're not everywhere. Does that mean, technically speaking, right? Does that mean I can go into like a regular store and not have those things and not be in trouble? Well, for heaven's sakes, yes, I will get in trouble. But it's the case of some things should be understood. But as we are finding out, no, they're not. You still need a sign. You still need to have a little label that says, do not put your fingers in here or you will get electrocuted. So why do we need a sign for that? Because guess what? Somebody will challenge you.
So one of the good things about Azure and the different clouds, I won't just pick on Azure. I say Azure when I mean the cloud because
Yes.
that's what I use often. But they tend to be set up very opinionated. So they start you out
Indeed.
with their best practices. And if you shoot yourself in the foot because you turn some of those features off,
Mm-hmm.
because you either A, don't understand how they work, or B, don't understand why they're there,
Yes.
then you're kind of on your own. They can't keep you from buying a hammer and hitting yourself in the leg with it.
Exactly.
But they certainly aren't advertising it as a way to I don't know to clean your pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Hammers are not
Hammer
a
to
way-
clean your pants. Why? Say why not? Well, I've seen someone do it. I've heard about it. I saw it on the internet. There was a TikTok on it. It's like
Yes.
there could have been, but I mean, but do you really want to? Do you want to open up the black box and mess with the insides? Well, that's what we do a lot, though. We mess with the insides mainly because but we're doing it because let's just say we know what we're doing, or we know the risks, or at least we have a plan on getting there, or we signed off in blood somewhere else that said, well, we're doing this because we need to, and we're going in. All right, put on the gas mask. We're going out. Will they return? Well, tune in next week.
Well, and speaking of hammers and hammers and screws, right? A screwdriver for a screw, a hammer for a nail.
Mhm.
That seems like a no-brainer, but occasionally hammers are on sale.
Yep. Oh.
Or someone read about the latest and greatest hammer, and this one is debounced, right? It's full of shot, and it will. It's got a non-marring surface, and it has all of these buzzwords that sound interesting.
Indeed.
And someone feels like you should be using a hammer for this.
Mm.
And pop rivets are great. They're a fastener, right?
Yep.
There's a time for paper clips. There's a time for staplers.
Yes.
You don't always need a hammer and a nail.
That's right. So for the folks that are watching that the Azure is showing, Azure Lighthouse is showing, it doesn't mean that this is a hammer that's going to find it's some sort of thing we're going to throw in there. This is for a very specific purpose, and at least they're very clear about it. We're not telling you that, hey, this is Azure Lighthouse, we got to use it. Oh my God, we got to use it now. So hold on a second. Are you practicing nice practices now? Well, technically speaking, you wouldn't need it under that circumstances. You got 5 people running through all this stuff, or like only 2 people. I don't have a service provider. I have one service provider, and I trust that they've been doing all this work. Anyway, I've outsourced to them. Okay, so you don't need something like that. But so this is a more specific area. Oh, hey, look at this. Usage free for customers. Check it out down at the bottom. Let's look at that. Is free for customers and partners. Hey, this is interesting. So, but it's just another way of taking a look at it. I just I thought that was a good one that came out today to talk about, because security to me is top of mind of late. All right, as we're looking through stuff.
I'm all in. This is something that I'm going to be doing once we get off the phone.
Yes.
I'm going to dig into this because, well, and the other part is, what do the competitors have that's similar?
Yes.
Because, one of the things that's interesting, being in this industry for a long time, I remember before C#,
yes,
and Java was the language, the new hotness, and people were using Java because it was better than C and C++ because it did memory management and all of that. Well, I mean, C# came out and it was an alternative to Java, and it has pros and cons. I really personally enjoy looking at Java even today. There's some things that Java does better than C# right now.
Oh wow.
And,
a bold statement, sir.
A bold statement, yes. But I'm all in on C#. I have been forever, and I love it dearly. There are some things that it does not do well, and it's okay to say that about the tool of choice, the one that I love, because I have to look at it and understand where its flaws are so that I can either work around them or say that it's not the right choice for whatever you're doing, right? I mean, Blazor is something that I'm digging into. Blazor is a great way to use C# to build front ends. And, there are times when Blazor is not the answer.
Right.
And I love C#. I want to put C# everywhere, but there are times when it's just not right. Node.js on the back end is great in certain situations.
Right.
It's the right choice and it's the right tool. Azure is great for some things. AWS is great for some things. Google has a cloud offering.
There you go.
Wait. I'm sure they're good for something too. I don't know yet.
Well, you know what? We should think about having an interview with some in our future interview series, bringing in folks to tell us what works for them, and that's what again this is all about. When we're talking about learning our craft and getting through things, it's fine to go down the paths of specific items, but understanding, as they say, the world and how other people do things, that makes us move forward. So yes. I would say yes to that.
I would like to have someone who is a Google Cloud expert.
Yes.
Okay. I just don't know enough about it to know where it shines.
Yes.
So
agreed.
If we can find and have someone that has that knowledge.
Well, if anyone's watching the show that wants to come on our show, please do some comments on the system over here and let us know. We'll talk to you. Otherwise, we'll find somebody. I'm sure we'll find someone. We know a few people.
Yeah,
we know people.
I mean, we know people. Yes.
We know people, especially now.
Yes. Well, but the good thing is, I'm willing to learn. I'm open-minded about it. I'm not coming in saying.
This is true.
I don't have a religious argument in even C# and Java, which I kid my Java peers all the time. But it's good natured because we both understand that they're the right time to use both of the tools, and there's a lot of overlap between those two.
Yep.
Just like I'm sure there's a lot of overlap between Google and Azure.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
And AWS is just, we're about 6 years from Amazon taking over the world. So if you want to go ahead and start using AWS now, you might as well go ahead and start.
Well, the way I call it is like the care and feeding, and especially in the low code in the AI sense, it's the care and feeding of baby Skynet. You know,
Yes.
you're now feeding baby Skynet, Viva, and all these other things. So the thing is, though, later on when he does take over, he will remember who are the humans that cared for him and will treat us well.
That's right. Now I said though I said AWS was going to take over a world or the world, but I should have said a world, right? It might be Mars.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, or it might be some other parallel dimension because they do something that just blows up the multiverse once again and causes those timelines to go flying whoosh, all over the place. Ah, the Loki of Amazon's, the Loki of online services.
Microsoft is the one that's doing a lot of what is it, Q sharp, a lot of quantum computing, and that's what's going to blow the
Yeah,
multiverse apart.
I see. That's where I believe Baby Skynet is being incubated. Frankly, like I said, when I get put into the umbilical cord to just be online forever, I want to have nice steak and all the good stuff. So I'm saying all the nice things about Baby Skynet. Oh,
Absolutely.
you're so cute when you're so little. When you're doing that AI
Well,
routine all over the place.
and my wife, she keeps saying that she's going to put me in a home, and I just keep asking for good, good internet access.
That's right. Well, like I said, they're just going to
I
plug
just
us
want
in
to make
directly,
it.
like in the Matrix. So, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going to be hooked up. I'm ready.
All right.
Hey, so how are we done here? We are about 30 minutes in to our show, or a little bit in there. We have some topics. So coming up in the future, folks, we're going to look for some more guests and some interviews. I think you have some folks in mind, potentially lined up over here. Ah, oh, where did it
I
go?
dropped. I dropped the sharing.
You did drop the sharing. Hang on a second. Let me go back there on my end. There we go. I got you back. It went over to my screen. I hope nothing important. No. Hey, guess what? Because I now have separate machines, anything you might have seen is not business related anymore. It would have been just personal stuff and potentially spam. Hey, great.
Oh,
And
sorry about that.
I got you in the full screen right now, so this looks
Cool.
good. I got you in the full
Cool.
screen. So we have a good way of ending out.
Well,
Uh,
speaking of extra machines, here's one
yes.
that. Uh, so I have this little guy.
Oh,
Hold on.
let's see.
I have this little guy. Have you seen one of these?
He's a box.
He is a box. This is an Intel NUC, the next unit of computing, and I'm going to be playing with this, and we'll get it set up.
Is that
So that
Raspberry Pi as a big wedding cake?
no, this is my little Raspberry Pi
Okay,
Zero.
there's a Raspberry Pi.
There's a Raspberry Pi Zero. This is a Raspberry Pi 3. It's a little bigger.
Okay.
This one actually has a network in, but this is actually an Intel base. So this has a Core i3. It's like the Mac Mini, but
Oh.
for Windows.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
so this is a nice hardware toy that looks very nice. Oh.
it does, and HDMI on the back, network
Well,
port.
I got homework for you after this, Larry. You got to get the links for all those items, and you're gonna paste them onto the YouTube chat after this,
Absolutely,
and paste those
absolutely.
links in there. That one, yeah, you
Yeah.
got to paste them. That's your homework.
So what I've got to do is get my setup so that I can do as you're doing and separate out the streaming from the actual desktop.
Yes, I
Um,
got to fix my NDI to get that working. The good thing is that I can actually have a support call to fix it because I actually was working and I did something to undo it. I have a feeling I flipped a flag. You know what it is when you act upon something, it switches from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 0. It's just one of those literally basic. I flipped a 1 to a 0 and then I did it again. Forgot that 0 went back to a 1, so now it's not working. Arr. It could be something as silly as that, but hey, that's
yeah.
that's what happens.
So I've got. I mean, I'm going to get a microphone because I really think that that's a good thing.
Yep, me
If you
too.
want to talk about Raspberry Pis and things like that, I've got a capture card. We can look at that and share.
Yes.
I'm going to be putting C sharp and doing some Blazor even on
Yes.
Raspberry Pi.
So here, so for folks who would not probably understanding, why would we care about hardware in the world of the cloud? It's like, does the hardware have a purpose? Actually, I'm going to say a little bit of yes because there's this little thing called IoT, the
Yes.
Internet of Things. And what are you looking at? I'm looking at the thing.
So
I'm.
this is the thing, right? This is $10.
Oh, that's a $10 thing.
This is a $10 thing.
Oh my God.
And so this is a Raspberry Pi Zero. It's probably 15 when you add the little nice case, but you don't need it.
Uh-huh.
But it is a full-fledged computer. It's got an HDMI port,
Right.
and it connects to your wireless, and it will allow you to do coding very cheaply.
Uh-huh.
It can be used as your interface to the cloud. It's a cheap way to get yourself connected.
And there you go.
You need a keyboard, a mouse, and some type of HDMI display device.
So why do we care about hardware? Because we still have television sets, we still have refrigerators and ovens and other things that for some reason we don't want to touch anymore. We want to let, baby Skynet, operate for us.
Exactly. And you always, even when you're using the cloud, you need a way to get to the cloud. And I don't want to type on my phone.
There you go.
I'm old. I don't use my phone.
So if you think about it, your Alexa that's on your system, or your Ask Google, whatever they want to call it, that's still a physical device that is essentially one of these kind of things at your location. So there's always going to be, for this Cloud Talk Show, in case you're wondering, hey, you're talking about physical stuff, there will always be that. That's going to be still part of our conversation going forward. So yes, there will be an episode where we talk about, we'll show our devices. Show your devices. Let's see it. Bring out your device.
Intel Compute Stick.
A compute stick.
I've tried them all. I've tried a bunch. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with those. And
well, we have an old compute stick episode, guys. Take a look, do a search, you'll find it.
Look back.
Yes. Yep. And hey, so I want to compare that episode and what we talked about then to what we have now. Oh, that would be cool. Because remember what? That'll be another homework. I just want to look at that episode to see what that power of that compute stick you were showing off at that one time compared to what you have now.
The one thing that I said that I was going to do that we didn't ever capture. I did try it and play with it a little bit. Is running and playing games in the cloud. Building an Azure virtual machine that was running a reasonable graphics card and using this Intel Compute Stick, which is an Atom-based, really lightweight, tiny computer, to play one of the hard games, one of the, can it play Crysis? Can it play a real modern video game in the cloud using this as an interface? And that's less important now because Xbox has the Xbox app, and you can stream from your Xbox to your computer now. And
yes,
there's a lot of other ways of doing it. That was a long time ago. It was almost a year.
Oh my gosh!
In internet times, that's a decade.
Oh dear. So yeah, I have to look at that. So one of my issues that I'm having right now, probably the reason why your sound sounds softer. Actually, it's not your machine. Turns out it's mine. People might have seen during the video, I was opening up device settings and looking at various things. You can watch the replay and you can see what I was doing. The concept is, I have a webcam over here, I have the laptop cam over here, and everything else. The webcam comes with its own microphone, its own sound, right? So when it turns on, it takes over the entire, all the device, I guess, what do they call it? It's not called ports. Basically it's taking all those settings away from you, right? And then this is why I can't get that to work over here and work there at the same time. What you're hearing, folks, the sound, is it's coming off the webcam because that's the sound that's somehow coming through over here. I thought it was coming through my headphones, so that's why I was doing this. Like, maybe I should make a show. And then I just realized I can't hear anything in my headphone at all. So, and now I'm hearing it coming out live through the speakers, which means this guy was never working. I'm wearing this headphone. It's not even making any difference. I just had to look like, wow, cool, I'm on headphones.
Yes,
it's for decoration only.
You're in Chicago, right? It's cold.
It's cold. Even in the summertime. So yeah, it's 71 degrees over here today. You're welcome. But actually, that's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it as long as it's not, bad weather. I'll take it. It's not quite the mountains like behind you, but that's okay. It looks like someone's sending us some flare signal right behind you. There's a red smoke coming up there. Yep. So I guess that's the landing zone. We're going to be checking it out later on. Larry, any parting shots for our folks as we end our first actual live show, which can now be a weekly thing? and because we have nothing that's stopping us from making recordings.
I'm all about it. I'm all in. Let's do it.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking for feedback. Again, really would like to have someone that I don't already know that knows
Yes.
the Google Cloud that we can talk to,
Yes.
because I love meeting people, and I'm interviewing. You're hiring, we're hiring,
Yep.
everybody's hiring.
Everybody's hiring. Well,
I
there's not
love
enough people
I
going
love
around. That's for sure. Hey, folks. So
I
if you're
love
here thinking
interviewing
about it,
people. You get to know new people and get to find out what they know. And as a practice lead, I'm all about coaching people and getting them started. I just started mentoring somebody that I interviewed 2 months ago,
mm-hmm.
and they're on board now, and it's their first time as a consultant.
Oh
in
dear.
A consulting.
Oh,
So
that'll be fun. I have to do that essentially at scale myself right now for North America. So well, at least for the United States. So it's interesting. Like I said, it's a good thing I have a focus. We have a lot of folks that are doing that. I'm in a pretty. We became big companies, so this is very interesting. We were both in a little small, which could have been considered boutique situation, but now you're in bigger digs. Well, your view is still where it is, but yeah, you're still in bigger digs. I'm in like a lot bigger digs. Oh my gosh. Oh, we'll talk about it maybe on a separate thing. But everything is good. Everything is good.
everything's great.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm going to change. I'm going to flip over the show. I suggest Larry, you go check out the show later and see how it worked out, and let me know. Give me your feedback. Anyone else who has feedback on how the show can go, let us know. There'll be more automation and more fun stuff, and we can even talk about how we did the show. That'll be pretty cool.
Sounds good.
All right, Larry. Say bye bye. Going to our end.